Oh, it's another lovely Texas day. The sun's beating directly down on my face. Yes, that's right, Texas. About 30 miles over yonder is the city of San Antonio, the city of brotherly love, the seventh most largest city in the United States, and also the home of this man, whom I will be playing as today on Jose Plays. I'm playing a wrestling game. It's a wrestling game. What the fuck is that shit over there? Okay. Well, it's that time of the week. Aren't you guys lucky to be here for this shit? Whew. Nice classic PlayStation boot. And look at all those pixels. Look at the fucking... You can cut your eye on those jagged edges right there. It's beautiful. It's what I like to see. Nice fucking unsmooth pixels. That's what the that's my drink there. That's what the 32-bit generation was all about. Who the fuck is this nerd? When your opponent is running at or leaping, what? Yeah, nice tip, Jason. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pick old Shawn Michaels here and just kind of get into the old game. You know, we're trying to win the one of the fucking championships. Who cares? Against Lex Luger, the Lug, as I've always called him. Yeah, I don't know. Lex Luger is one of those wrestlers that traditionally a lot of people have not enjoyed working with. Although, I don't know, like whenever I've seen any kind of videos behind the scenes, he kind of just seems like a dude that like, he came from a more like traditionally athletic background, and he tried to adapt that into his professional wrestling style. It just didn't always meld well. Although I think later in his career, it kind of went a little bit better, except for when, you know, he might have accidentally killed somebody. That's probably not fair. But let's, you know what, let's move on from that. Because, you know, even though there's a lot of tragedy involved with professional wrestling, let's focus on some positives, like Shawn Michaels. Oh, okay. Well, Shawn Michaels was actually born Michael Shawn Hickenbottom on July 22nd, 1965 in Chandler, Arizona. But he was raised in a military family and eventually grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I guess he actually went to Randolph High School on Randolph Air Force Base, which is near where some family members of mine live. I almost pretty much gave away my whole fucking private information there, but yeah, you know, he wrestled over in St. Louis. He wrestled up in Minnesota, you know, which was close to my old stomping grounds of North Dakota. And up in Minnesota in the AWA, he formed the what is it? Midnight Rockers with Marty Jannetty, who they would eventually go to WWF at the time and just become the Rockers. And oh my god, I just lost to the Undertaker. He fucking made bats fly out of me. That was pretty fucking morbid. Anyway, it's crazy because like Marty Jannetty was somehow the worst of the two, and he eventually became known and the wrestling business as the other guy. And that's kind of a common trope sometimes in professional wrestling when a tag team breaks up and then one of the competitors, both competitors go into like kind of singles competition, but one of them becomes a fucking megastar and the other one sort of doesn't, and they just can't fucking get it together. That would be Marty Jannetty, also known in wrestling parlance as the other guy. But yeah, another would-be tragic story is Razor Ramon here, also known as Scott Hall, who for many years struggled with alcohol addiction, and he actually eventually got clean and sober and made kind of a turn in his life, which was actually really great, along with Jake the Snake Roberts, who I don't think anybody really anticipated. I think the sad thing about Jake the Snake and Scott Hall for a very long time is I think we all assumed that they were both going to die very early and very tragically. We all knew that it was going to be due to some kind of substance abuse issues. And thankfully, that has not happened and will never happen because, if anything, these guys will just die because, unfortunately, professional wrestlers, all the years of abuse to their body catches up with them. But at least we know that, Scott Hall and Jake the Snake were able to turn their lives around and everything was better. That's nice, But again, I'm focusing on a little bit of the negative shit. Let's kind of, how about we talk about the game here that I'm playing, which is WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, which I guess technically when it was released in arcade was not called the arcade game. It was just titled WWF WrestleMania. And it's weird because I think we pretty much, whenever us gamers talk about this game in particular, we always have to use the long title WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. But anyway, it was released in 1995. And I actually kind of fondly remember the commercials for this game. At the time, I wasn't really watching professional wrestling, especially the WWF. Well, I should say especially the WCW, because despite the fact that they had just signed Hulk Hogan, who I've, even as a kid, was never really a fan of. WCW at the time was still considered the second to the WWF. I really wasn't into the WWF at the time because, I didn't like the corny or dumb, gimmicks. They had a lot of, gimmicks that were occupation-based, like Duke the Dumpster Droese or Dr. Isaac Yankem, who would go on to be Kane, or even The Undertaker. The Undertaker was kind of a silly occupation-based gimmick. But, obviously The Undertaker kind of became his own sort of interesting character. But, yeah, for the most part, I wasn't feeling the goofy, gimmicky shit. But, I liked the commercials for this game at the time because they made it look really violent and silly at the same time, and I think I was kind of waiting for pro wrestling to become more violent and aggressive, But yeah, what kind of also furthered that whole thing was the fact that this game, obviously, it was released by Midway, and like another popular Midway title, it used digitized graphics, which made the characters look, well, it's when they take pictures of the actual people and digitize them. But yeah, they did the same thing with the first 3 Mortal Kombat games. In fact, unlike other wrestling games, even at the time, this one was, more of a fighting game. And it even had a dedicated block button, like in Mortal Kombat, which is something I never like that. That's one of the things that has always turned me off to most of the Mortal Kombat games. But apparently the developers actually wanted more of a heavy Mortal Kombat influence on the game. In fact, like, if you kind of, like, notice there, like, the characters sort of bleed. Like, you know, sweat comes out of them with some of the heavier attacks, like, just random objects that are related to the characters fly out. You know, like, jewelry comes out of Razor Ramon and all that. And I think even stars and stripes come out of fucking Lex Luger. But, yeah, the actual developers, they worked on, in addition to this game, they also worked on Mortal Kombat and even NBA Jam. So there's a little, there are a couple of trademarks from each series in those games. But yeah, not only that, but the developers, they really wanted to give each wrestler their own finishing move, kind of like a fatality. And one, I guess the WWE wasn't, they didn't, Vince McMahon, I guess himself, did not want it to be like Mortal Kombat. He didn't want it, he wanted to be more family friendly, because like that's kind of where the product was at the time, the overall WWF product. So he was like, let's make it a little bit more family friendly, guys, and so they I guess they didn't really go through with the finishing moves, although apparently one did make it into the arcade version. There's like a pretty interesting it's like a rarity, but like with the Undertaker, if you play as him, you can actually perform a finishing move where whenever it says pin him, he basically like he makes like a casket come out of the ground, or out of the ring rather, and he like kind of like shoves them into it, and then like it goes down into the ring, and then like a little tombstone pops up. But yeah, that actually I guess did make it into the arcade game, and if you go on YouTube, you might be able to find a couple of videos of it. But yeah, none of the other wrestlers were lucky enough to get their own finishing moves in the game. Another thing that's kind of interesting is I remember hearing for many years, and I think I even read it maybe in an issue of EGM, that another wrestler named Adam Bomb, that's Adam, like Adam Bomb, was supposed to be a secret character in the game. But and this was according to Sal DeVita, that he did actually make it, I guess, into the game's code, but his character was never finished. So it kind of turned out to be true. I remember even reading like that he was supposed to be spotted in the audience or something, but I don't think I've ever been able to see him. I remember Adam Bomb, he had like goggles, like protective eye goggles, and he had like a silly suit with like the biohazard symbol on it and like flames and shit. He would actually go on to wrestle as a kind of similar character in the WCW named Wrath. And actually, Wrath was a secret boss in the game WCW versus the World. Like if you beat like I think the WCW Federation, you get to face him as a boss or something like that. Like like basically like WCW versus the World. Like each, it had like 4 different like wrestling companies that you had to like fight all their wrestlers, and then after you fought all their wrestlers, you fought like a boss for that company, and then you can like save that to your memory card and play as them. And Wrath is one of the guys from that. Actually, the Adam Bomb character is kind of one of those. I remember seeing Adam Bomb as a kid, and that was kind of one of those things where I was like, I think I'm done with this shit. Because it was like, keep in mind, I was still kind of like watching like Power Rangers, and dumb kitty shit at the time, but I don't know what it was. Like I think it's just like the punny nature of his name. I remember seeing one episode of like WWF Superstars where he came out, he wrestled, he was the big like angry guy, and then they used to have the set where like in like 93, 92, where they had like their own miniature Titantron type thing, and he would like whenever his match was done, they would show like the mushroom cloud, and he would kind of be like, yes, I like that, you know, kind of thing, like kind of like almost like, yes, that's awesome, like kind of pray or whatever in front of it. It was, I just remember as a kid just like, oh, it's so stupid. Atom bomb. I fucking, yeah, like atom bomb. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. I really thought it was stupid. Like, I didn't even think it was clever. It was really like the WWF was insulting my intelligence. Again, and this was around the time when I was like, oh, the Power Rangers are so fucking cool. It's like giant robots. But I think, you know, I think the only thing with that is like, you know, pro wrestling for, you know, when there was a time when I thought that shit was real, you know? I mean, I knew as I started to, or my parents did tell me when I was really young that it was fake. And I was kind of like fucked up, you know, about that. I was like, what? Like, I still like tell people, like, I think like I was a little bit more disappointed to find out that pro wrestling was not real than finding out that Santa Claus wasn't real. You know, like when I found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, it was kind of like, well, it does make a lot of sense. But you know, when my fucking parents would tell me like, oh, they stomp on the mat to make it sound like they're fucking hitting hard, I'm like, but I don't see that. What? No, you hit him. It hurt. You know, and then of course they bleed and all that shit every now and again. It's like, but it's real, you know? Like, I really wanted to believe that shit. Speaking of which, I don't like that. I'm taking like a real ass whooping from these two fucking super heavyweights, Bam Bam Bigelow, who I do very much. I'm a huge Bam Bam Bigelow mark, and Yokozuna. I don't like it. I don't like it one damn bit. You know, I've been trying to get this fucking championship, you know, for fucking a while now, and I keep getting this game is becoming more difficult for some reason. I feel like this game shouldn't be so fucking hard. You know, even when I master the block button, it's no fucking use. These guys are whooping me like I owe them money. Like, I don't like it. Like, you just turned to fucking fire. That's crazy. Ugh. Like, I'm just a sexy boy. How am I supposed to stack up against these two fucking giant men? Like, that's crazy. What do you expect me to do? Oh, fish flew out of him, you know, because it's a Jap. And they eat raw fish. They eat fucking bait. Those crazy nips. He's not even really Japanese. Oh, lost again. What a fucking surprise. Fuck this shit. You know what? No. I'm gonna start over. But you know what? I'm gonna cheat this time. Listen, I don't give a shit. I want to win. I want to win this fucking title, and I'm gonna do it the right way this time. And I know I'm gonna fucking do it. I know that no one's gonna stop me. No Yokozuna, and definitely no Scott Bam Bam Bigelow. Rest in peace. Both of them. Fucking Bam Bam Bigelow. Jesus Christ. Even when I cheat, I can't fucking win. God damn, that was pointless. Well, I hope you fuckers enjoyed yourselves. Thanks for watching. Oh, shut the fuck up, Jim Duggan. As much as I bitched in this video, it was fun to do. This is a classic in wrestling video games, even though, like I said, it's more like a fighting game. I'll maybe play some more wrestling games in the future and then bore you guys to death with my infinite pro wrestling knowledge. Until then, peace, see you later.